What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of 100 Yards of Football Sports Talk Radio. I'll be your host and producer this afternoon, Logan Landers, and join me here this afternoon to talk about the Iowa Hawkeyes. And normally, no, we usually talk about the defense, but today we're going to the offensive side of the ball. We're going back to the running back position. We were talking about Kaleb Johnson. And Brian, when you sent me over the name, I said, wait a minute, Iowa offense? Wait a minute, what are we doing here? But once I did some research, once I checked out this young man, I was very impressed with what I came away with. So give me your initial thoughts whenever you saw Kaleb Johnson and how he performed this over his tenure.
I think you have to judge him differently because he played for the Iowa Hawkeyes and he was on the offensive side of the football. As a running back, he was almost 6.5 yards a touch. He had 21 touchdowns, which, I mean, I don't have the exact numbers, but that's probably half of their total TDs on the year on the offensive side, I would imagine. I mean, it's very difficult for him because he's probably facing 8 and 9 man boxes every single time he steps foot on the field because they don't have any vertical passing attack. They don't really have a downfield threat. And it's been that way at Iowa for so long. It's very head scratching. We were talking about it. Like, I don't understand how nothing has changed. But Kaleb was a bright spot for this team. I mean, he had big play capabilities. He's not the fastest guy in the world. He's a sub 4.6 40, but he hits the hole very, very quickly. He knows what he wants to do. And if there's any space, whatsoever, he's going to find it. Tremendous at taking care of the football, tremendous at getting the second level, spinning off of contact, making guys miss. I mean, he's the real deal. And I know running backs get overlooked and they kind of get pushed back a little bit. I think Saquon Barkley and Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan Robinson and Derrick Henry are kind of changing that as far as the NFL because guys are getting paid more now at that position. But Kaleb can play now. And I know he's not Travion Henderson. He's not a Sean Jeanty, but he's right there, that next tier down. He's right there. And some team's going to probably get him in the second day pick, perhaps. And I think he's going to be a phenomenal addition to any backfield in the league.
Yeah, like you said, this past year was just phenomenal for him. He ran the ball for over 1,500 yards, also a school record with 23 total touchdowns, 21 of those coming via the ground. Like, say, 6 foot, around 225, so he's in great shape. And when I was doing my research on him, Brian, he's only the 5th Hawkeye in school history to have multiple 200-plus rushing yard games. That exclusive class right there had 8 100-yard performances. So, I mean, without him, I don't know how many wins Iowa picks up. Because we were looking at their schedule before we started the show here, and we're like, okay, they scored 30 here, 40 here. And we're like, wait a minute, the offense kind of got going this year. But the guy we're talking about right on the screen, I would say he's factor number 1 on offense with all the touchdowns he had and all the points he scored and the great games he had in terms of yardage. But I like Kaleb Johnson. I think that he's got really good just tempo, right? You can see him. He's not going to just, all right, get the ball and run. He's going to wait for a second, find the hole, split through it, and kind of, just run downfield. He's got good size, good speed. And like you said, if he gets going, if he gets his legs going in the open field, it's a ball game at that point. It's just a foot race, and you're not going to win that one against him because he's got very solid speed. Like you said, the one thing is, we talk about all the great running abilities, and that's what he's going to have in the league. But one factor where teams are going to nick him and say, all right, we're going to drop you down maybe a little bit more is the pass catching because, well, I mean, let's face it, Brian, the quarterback play at Iowa hasn't been star potential, we'll say, over recent years. And so that's going to be one factor where I don't know if he's going to have to necessarily improve on, or more so just get more reps while doing that. But just what are your some other thoughts and final thoughts you got here about Kaleb Johnson? Do you think his pass catching, not ability, but just lack of stats is also gonna kind of, in a sense, harm his draft stock and make him a later pick than we think he should be?
Well, you got to have opportunities, right, in order to convert. And Iowa doesn't throw the ball very well. I mean, there's a lot of short stuff, but when you have the guy, your opposing defense is bringing everybody up in the box, it's really hard to complete those swing passes, those screen passes. It's difficult to do. And Kaleb, I mean, look, he did the best with his opportunities. Not a ton of yards. He was sub 200. I think he had 188 on the year, and 72 of those came in, one pop against Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, he played almost every down. He's a workhorse kind of back. He's a 3-down back at the next level. And I think if you get a team where, hey, maybe they got some receivers, you get a good quarterback that can stretch the ball down the field, it's going to be really interesting to see what he can do at the next level. Because if he's got a decent offensive line in front of him as well, because Iowa did have a really good offensive line. They could run the ball very, very well. But it's almost like you're almost excited because you say, hey, but the offense they ran and the scheme he was in, and he just didn't have a lot of opportunities. If this guy can also pass catch at the next level, I mean, it just adds an entire another wrinkle to his game. It makes him that much better. As an offensive coordinator, now I can say, hey, we can get this guy the ball out of the backfield too. Maybe he's not a, he's not a Jahmyr Gibbs kind of guy where he's, flash in a pan. He just one cut makes you miss, but he could definitely put some pressure on the next level. We saw it. He hits the hole very, very well, and he gets space. He's very sneaky quick once he gets going. Once he starts running downhill, he's very, very fast. He's he's big too. We talked about it earlier. He's got a tremendous build for his position, and he's very hard to bring down in open space. And I think that's something that teams might look at and say, okay, the numbers aren't there, but why is that? And they say, oh, because he's playing at Iowa. That's why.
Yeah. And I'll leave with this. Some of his best stats come in the fourth quarter. In the fourth quarter, Brian, he averages 5.8 yards per carry. So his production doesn't slow down once the game grinds on. He's consistent throughout, and he's definitely, I think, can be a home run hitter at the next level. If you can just, like I said, like Brian said, if you get him a good O-line, give him some room to work, and he can just go off to the races. And I'm interested to see where he's going to go. The running backs have definitely had a resurgence in not just college football, but the National Football League in recent years. So I think that's going to elevate his draft stock if, being drafted this year than if it was, 3, 4, 5 years ago. So I think that's going to help out Kaleb Johnson and help him get on hopefully a better team where he can get some better reps and make a good name for himself in the National Football League. But I'm excited to see where he's going to go and how well he's going to produce. And, producing, it is the season of March, and March Madness is here in every single game. It's a chance to cash in. That is thanks to MyBookie's Bet and Get program. It's back, and it's going to sweeten your deal. You can place a cash bet on any March Madness game. You can get a surprise reward, whether it's going to be some bonus chips or some free bets, maybe even some cash back. You never know what's going to be coming. But you can sign up now with the promo code MM50. Once again, MM50, and you can boost your bankroll with a deposit bonus that's going to design to help you make the most out of your money. So you can bet on every game, anytime, from anywhere. Only with MyBookie. Well, for Brian LaBelle, I've been your host and producer, Logan Layers. I'm going to go watch some March Madness games, and you guys take it easy. We'll see you again on another live episode.